Okay, so I want to be both careful in reporting this story to you, but I also don't want to hold back what are some very strange elements of what we've learned so far. And this is a story about left wing attorney Michael Avenatti. He has come to, I guess we would call it fame or prominence over the last year or so. He represented Donald Trump's hush money mistress, Stormy Daniels, who was, of course, involved in one of the sort of prominent scandals involving Trump. This $130,000 in hush money paid to her. Michael Cohen was involved in that. Supposed big dudes intimidating her were involved in that. Avenatti was representing Stormy Daniels there. He has also broken news of sexual assault accusers of Brett Kavanaugh, who is the now newest Supreme Court justice. He also broke video of Tucker Carlson in a shouting match with a Hispanic member of Tucker's country club. And the news as of last night is that Michael Avenatti has been arrested in Los Angeles for suspected domestic violence, domestic abuse. And I want to go through this sort of sequentially in terms of what we knew when, because that has a lot to do with what's weird about this story. So we'll start at the very beginning. News breaks reported by a number of media outlets that Michael Avenatti has been arrested by LAPD in Los Angeles for domestic violence against his estranged wife, Lisa Story Avenatti. So at this point, knowing nothing else, in the same way that when women accused Brett Kavanaugh, when women accused Bill Cosby or whoever, we should trust the victims unless and until there's information that comes out that makes us doubt the truth of the story. Is it possible that a lawyer who has done so much pro bono work to expose domestic abusers and sexual assaulters of women might himself commit domestic assault? Of course it's possible, and there's no reason at its face to doubt the allegations. So far, no problems whatsoever. Los Angeles Police Department tweets confirming the arrest, so we know that that part is true. They said, quote, update, we can confirm that Michael Avenatti, birth date February 16th, 1971, was booked this afternoon on a felony domestic violence charge. His bail is set at $50,000. So as far as Avenatti himself, I've been saying for months that while he's done some good things, I have some disagreements with him. I have never been a huge fan of his presence in the Democratic Party milieu. I never thought that the guy ought to run for president in 2020, which is something that's been talked about. But I can't deny that he's been an effective operator in many ways. So at this point, I'm thinking I have no particular reason to doubt the allegations. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I recognize good things he's done, not so good things that he's done. Fine. But then very quickly, the domestic assault story starts to get weird because his estranged wife's lawyer puts out a statement saying, despite media reports, Michael Avenatti wasn't arrested for anything he did to me. This is his estranged wife speaking. I haven't seen him for months. And in fact, when we were together, he never was violent, period. He never did anything that even approached physical violence. Okay, that's kind of odd because it's being reported that he was arrested for something he did to this woman. And this woman says, this has nothing to do with me. Meanwhile, Michael Avenatti's first wife tweets something pretty similar, saying, I've known Michael Avenatti for over 26 years. We met when he was 21. We were married for 13 years. Michael has always been a kind, loving father to our two daughters and husband to me. He has never been abusive to me or anyone else. He is a good man. Okay, so still, it wasn't his most recent wife that is accusing him of violence. His first and second wives both say he's never been violent, but could he have been violent and have hit another woman? Of course he could have. And as always, when it's on the left or right, doesn't matter to me. I say we should trust accusers and take their accusations seriously and investigate. But is there actually an accuser here? Starts to become the question. Then TMZ, which originally reported that it was Avenatti's ex-wife, said, you know what, we were misinformed. It's another woman who has alleged domestic assault on Michael Avenatti. Our source says, this is TMZ talking, our source says there was a shouting match outside of a luxury apartment in Los Angeles. Security eventually brought the woman into the building, and Avenatti eventually went in yelling, "She hit me first." Now, is any of that actually true? I have absolutely no idea right now. And then something even stranger happens, if you can believe it. Remember the fake sexual assault allegations that were concocted about Robert Mueller by this young Trump supporter named Jacob Wall and this totally fake company called Surefire Intelligence? These offers were made to two different women, at least two different women, of $20,000 each if they were willing to make fake allegations that Robert Mueller sexually harassed them or assaulted them. It completely blew up in their faces. The Surefire Intelligence Twitter account tweeted last night a link to the Avenatti arrest with the message, "Surefire Intelligence strikes again," apparently meaning to imply that they may have been involved in getting Michael Avenatti arrested. If they did do this, why would they admit it? I have no idea. None of Jacob Wall's actions have ever made sense to me. But could someone, knowing that California has this mandatory arrest policy for domestic violence calls, could this all be a right-wing plot to get Avenatti back for his activism? It's definitely possible. The next step is we need a specific and actual accuser where we say, this is the person making the allegations. Because right now, all we know, Pat, is that the accuser that was initially named in the report denies that they had anything to do with it and that Michael Avenatti did anything to them. So for me, Pat, it's, yeah, trust victims, but who's the victim here? Is there actually a victim?
Yeah, and that's why, at least now, we want to reserve judgment. But notice how we're saying that we want to investigate and get to the bottom of this, find out who the actual victim is. Contrast that to the right-wingers when one of them gets in trouble for domestic abuse or sexual assault, sexual misconduct. They don't want to have the investigation. A guy like Brett Kavanaugh, even though he was accused of attempted rape, just push him onto the Supreme Court. We don't have to look into his background.
That's exactly right. And so right now we know that an initial incorrect report about Avenatti's ex-wife being the victim was retracted. And as of right now, again, by the time you listen to this, by the time you watch this, maybe we'll have more information. There is no actual victim that we know about. And we have a really sketchy organization with a history of trying to fabricate sexual assault allegations against public figures seen as adversarial to the right. I don't say people on the left because Robert Mueller is a lifelong Republican. People seen as adversarial to the right, and they posted a strange message sort of seeming to take credit for something related to the story. The story as we know it right now is that, and I'm sure that Republicans are going to say, until we have definitive evidence that Michael Avenatti did this, we have to assume he's innocent, right? Because that's what they said with Brett Kavanaugh, although I'm having a little trouble finding those comments online from right-wingers when I look for them. Today's program was made possible in part by Blinkist.com/Pakman. I love Blinkist. It's the really perfect app for anybody who likes politics and learning. And if you're watching or listening to the David Pakman Show, I'm sure you love politics and learning. And what Blinkist does is take the best and most popular nonfiction books, they condense them into 15-minute audiobooks that you can listen to in one sitting. And you can learn about politics, philosophy, psychology, economics. Often we don't have the time to actually read as many books as we would like. I know that I'm at my limit for how much I can read. And this way you can absorb the most important, valuable information from books in just 15 minutes, maybe on your way to work, maybe on your way to the gym, maybe cooking vegan recipes at home, whatever is your thing. And our audience can get a 7-day free trial by going to Blinkist.com/Pakman. If you're watching on YouTube, I've put a link in the video description. And after the free trial, if you like it, and I think you will, you can continue enjoying thousands of condensed audiobooks for just about $5 a month. You can go to blinkist.com/PAKMAN to sign up.